Welcome to the video. This is video log for the weekly video. So I do a weekly update video every single week, and this is the fourth one. I'm going to keep it up for as many weeks as I can. And that's what this whole channel is about. That's how this channel started, was off the weekly video updates. And so we're going to get into that. So I break the weekly update videos into three main categories, really. It's the life progress. So what's been happening the last week? It's the YouTube progress, because that's part of what I want to talk about, because I'm on YouTube making this video right now. And the last one is any like musings or any channels I've discovered on YouTube that inspire me, any books or any quotes I've read that have inspired me. And so that's the three sections that these videos will be in, that are made into, how these videos are made. And today, the video probably isn't going to be as long. I don't know, because I don't really have as much life progress to talk about this week. And that's partly due to because I'm moving out in a month. So if you don't know, if you haven't watched the other videos, probably a lot of newer watchers, I am moving in a month to Charlotte, North Carolina. So Charlotte's a big city in North Carolina, and I live in Florida right now. And so I'm moving out of there, out of my parents, and I'm living on my own. So I have to get everything ready. And I don't plan on coming back this time. So I have to get everything ready, get all my credentials, my social security card, get a copy of my birth certificate, all that I have to complete. I had to set up a new bank account, a local bank account where I'm going. And so I had to do a lot of stuff, and I'm doing a lot of stuff, but also I just haven't have been had as many new experiences, because I've been really focusing on the stuff I've been doing for the last like week, 2 weeks. And so I don't have as much time to explore new places or, eat at a new restaurant or something like that, okay? And so the two main things for life progress this week are the WGU classes and the blog post that I just recently made, which I'm really proud of. So I'll talk about that in the video, but let's get into YG or WGU. I always call it YGU, it's WGU, Western Governors University. If you don't know, I go there and it's an online university. I can take as many classes I want in one term, which is 6 months, and I have to pass a test. And if I pass the test, I pass the class. So I have to pass 30 classes to get my degree, because I already had 10 transferring in from previous college experience. And so I've really focused on that because I'm in the financial accounting, the first class, which is a very hard class, especially since that's like the weed out class. I just passed the pre-assessment right before this video. Barely passed it, but I passed it. And what mainly held me back is all the inventory stuff, all that. So all the depreciation. So I got to go back in that. But the like accounting mechanics and all those sections and everything, I passed those like really easily. So that pushed me over the edge, because my depreciation and my inventory and sales discounts were pretty bad. So I need to work on that. So I'll probably take the accounting test on Thursday. I keep moving it back because I've been taking the class for a couple, like 2 or 3 weeks, and I keep moving the test back, because originally I was going to do it in a couple days, but I keep moving it back. Partly because I'm procrastinating on the test, but also partly because I really want to learn the accounting principles in that class, because they'll stick with me for the whole program, and I'm going to use them for the rest of my career. My 10-year career. S- s- that's how long I think I'm going to be accounting for. At least I don't plan on being it for like 30, 40 years. Who knows? I might still be an accountant in 20 years. However, I'm going to WGU to get my accounting degree so I can get an accounting job. That'll pay me like 60K. And the reason I'm doing that is because then I'll have more money to invest in myself for activities I enjoy or stuff like that. Like I can get more education because now my salary's higher. I can get a better home. I can buy gym equipment that I can keep at my home, or a better gym membership, because I have like a $40 YMCA gym membership that I barely use, but I could afford a better one. The YMCA membership I have isn't really good, so I don't really go to it that much, but I just keep it just in case as a contingency um, thing if I ever need it. if I'm ever homeless. So I keep that. However, it lets me invest back into myself the money I get. So instead of investing it in stocks and everything, I'm going to invest it back into myself for education purposes and like to start a business and stuff, better YouTube channel. So that's why I'm going to WGU. But so that's what I've mainly been focusing on. That's been taking up a lot of my time. I'd say roughly half the time I do. And so that takes up a lot of time. And so I'm about to get that done with. And once I finish accounting, financial accounting, I'll probably move on to other harder classes. Now, at the same time, I also plan on taking the taxation class on Thursday too, right after the accounting class, because the taxation class I'd only take me like 6 hours to get through it. Like you just have to watch the video. From what I've been looking at the Reddit and everything, watch the videos, go through the book really quickly, and you should pass the exam. If you don't, then you can do all the study questions that they give you that are extra. And so that's probably going to be Thursday. So I got to study tomorrow on the taxation class and also a little bit on the accounting class because I passed pre-assessment, but I really want to focus for like an hour or two tomorrow and probably today a couple hours on the accounting that I missed. And so that's been taking up a lot of my time. And so if you don't know, I usually have a folder with all of my Obsidian. So I have a Obsidian app, sorry, the note-taking app that's really popular. And I put all my accomplishments for the week. So usually I have like 20 today, or last week or this week, whatever, the last week starting from Tuesday to this Tuesday. I probably only had like 10 of them, and usually I have like double that amount. So that's the WGU that's been taking up a lot of my time. But also, I've been more focused on the um, blogging and this channel or whatever. I want to make better content, not just the weekly update videos, but also the my philosophy, my way of going through life, and everything about that, and even the stuff I'm trying to do to improve my mindset. And, that's part of the reason I talk about my inspiration because I get my inspiration from YouTube videos and books or whatever, and then I write blog posts about them. And so if you don't know, I just released a blog post. I don't think anyone's seen it yet. There aren't many people who watch this video, let alone go to the blog, but I just released a really good blog post and it took me a couple hours to write. It's about 1,300 words. It's not a lot. Well, it was for me it's a lot for a blog post. A couple paragraphs, like 10 paragraphs maybe. It was a lot. It's about a page worth of words or whatever. And I did that yesterday, which was a Monday. And that day I was going to be studying a lot for the accounting class, but I ended up half of the time, majority of that time was writing that blog post. And that blog post is it's about my mindset that I've recently have found myself in, that I've kind of adopted, but also I've been inspired by people. So I've been inspired by a couple people and their mindsets, and that's how my mindset came. So the title of that blog post, and I don't want to spoil it too much because I'm gonna make a video on this because think it deserves a whole video, and maybe I'll break it into parts too to better go over it in more detail because I don't think an hour video is going to be enough for it. But the basic detail of that of that blog post, I mean, is how you are an immortal person. So think of yourself as an immortal fighting endless battles throughout your life. And the way I thought about that is that blog post goes into my philosophy where everything is temporary and you can break up your life into three separate categories. It's win, lose, and draw. So win, lose, draw. Everything is temporary. So the day that you wake up, you win, you lose, you draw. Then you go back to sleep, you wake up the next day, something happens, you win, lose, draw. Keep doing that. And it's just a series of battles. And I call them battles. And that's what they are. They're challenges in your life. The things you have to do, they're the hard things, but also the easy things that are really easy for you that cause you to have a small win. And in my life, you're a warrior going through these endless battles, but you you can't die in the battles. Well, you can die, but there's only two ways to die. And it's not in the battles. It's when you quit the game of life because it's about the game of life. You either quit this game of life, you just stop growing. So the point of life is to have these endless battles to grow as a person, specifically to grow your armor and your weapons. And I'll talk about that. But it's to grow yourself specifically overall, to just grow yourself to be a better person and a more improved person, whatever way you think of it is. So you can think of your more improved as being more evil or more good. It doesn't matter. Just improve yourself. But most people don't do that. And so they quit the game of life, which is what I call it, and they become endless zombies, endless undead, just wandering the world waiting for death to happen. And so they become that. Or you die. Everyone always dies. There's no one who's immortal that I know of. Maybe that's hidden in history, but people always die, and so you can't. That's the only two ways because life is an infinite game, and so it's an infinite game of infinite combat where there is an infinite number of battles. Okay, so that's why it's an infinite game, and there's so many of them that the only way for you to stop experiencing these battles is to die or just quit. And of course, you'll still experience these battles, but you won't grow from them. So that's why I added to quit. Really, the only way to stop having these battles is to die. But or just live in a place, or you can quit, or you can stop growing and just not care about the experiences, or even better, you can live out in a hut away from society until you die. So that's the only way to the game of life. And as you battle, you're immortal. So but you have two things with you. You have your weapons and you have your armor, and you fight until one person destroys or you fight. So something happens to you until it destroys your armor and your weapons, or you destroy another person's armors or weapons, or the environment's armors and weapons. And so that's the concept, and the armors are your personal philosophy, and the weapons are the skills you learn, the skills that you find valuable, that you train on, or that you use in daily life. And so throughout life, you sharpen these weapons and you make your armor more impenetrable. Make it stronger. And so I talk about the three things in a battle because life is an infinite game of battles. Is draw, win, lose. And what happens when you lose? What happens to your armor and weapons when you win? What happens when you lose? What happens to those when you draw? And I didn't talk about draw that much, but win or lose, what happens? And you just think of life as temporary battles. And the main thing with this mindset is you have to think of everything like temporary. The worst things can happen to you, but it's temporary. It's temporary. You know, it affects your armor. It's temporary. You can get back up. And through these battles, you meet new people. You might have you find a relationship, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a life, a husband, whatever, a wife, a husband, whatever that is. You'll meet new people. You'll see new scenes, but all that disappears to the next battle. You just keep fighting more and more battles, and the only thing you can carry with you is your armor and your weapons. And so I talk about that in my mindset, and I was really in that blog, and I was really proud of it. And that's like the personal mindset I've been trying to develop. Now, that's a mixed mash of ideas that I've gotten from different people and some of my own. And so, like the armor metaphor I got from another YouTube I've just recently, a YouTuber, or he's not really a YouTuber, but a person I've been listening to. We're not talking about that in the musing section, but that was a really great blog. And so I created that blog yesterday. Took a couple hours of writing. It's easy to write stuff if you're writing fiction or a scenario thing or whatever, but it's really hard to write a blog post that you want to be really good quality, that you are not afraid of releasing into the world, and that you think people will find quality from. And so I released that blog post yesterday. I don't know if anyone's ever subscribed to my blog or anything. So I don't know if anyone's seen it or how many views I get. I don't check that. The blog isn't for that really. Maybe in a couple months I'll start looking at that, but I'm not really looking at it as like a monetizable source of income. Maybe YouTube, maybe, but not really the blogs because blogs have almost died out recently. It's more social media that's been more people use for information. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff people use for information. They don't really use blogs as much anymore. However, I just made that blog post or whatever, and I'm following Dan Koh's advice where you want to create a blog that's really long, that's the best of your content, or a newsletter, whichever one you want to do, a newsletter or blog that's very long, and then you want to create content around that blog post because the blog post has so many great points of value, and you break that into separate videos and you go into depth on these topics that were in the paper because the blog post is more like a summary of everything overall, and then the long-term videos, the long-term content goes into the specific points in more detail. That's how I see his blog post waterfall, or he calls it his waterfall media strategy or something like that, content strategy. So that's how I see it. That's what I'm going to do with it. That's how I'm going to use my blog and my newsletter. I created a Mailchimp chimpanzee or Mailchimp account or whatever, and I linked my email in the blog post. I'm going to start doing that. And so I'm no longer using the WordPress subscribe one. I'm using the Mailchimp one because then I can create a like welcome email for you guys. And I started on the new one or the free mode. Like it was like I could get the $20 premium account for free for the first month, but I wanted to just do it with the free account until I get more email subscribers. Then I'll probably upgrade because the features will be nice and I'll have more contacts. So the free plan is limited on the amount of contacts and the amount of emails you can send. And so when I have more subscribers, I'll probably move up to the next rank on the MailChimp. But that took about another hour to set all that stuff out and release it as an email. So I gotta still make the welcome post for anyone who ever subscribes to my email list or whatever, saying like welcome and everything to the email list or whatever, my email, eh, so I gotta do that. But those were like the two main things that I've been doing for the last couple of days. Now I also have been reading that book On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything by Dave Silver or Dan Silver or something. I know his last name's Silver or something like that. But that's a really interesting book, but the problem with it is it's all about gambling, at least the first half. Like it'll talk about risk and everything, but a lot of it's about gambling. It has made me more interested in gambling. And it's not because I really like gambling. I never gambled before. My parents always said to avoid it. I didn't want to waste my hard-earned money on it. However, it's just I see gambling as like a way to personally transform myself. And you might be like, that's crazy, Tyler. Like, no, like that's what just gamblers say, but I've never gambled. But from reading this book and also that mindset I've recently had, the art of seeing yourself as an immortal with the only equipment you have is your armor and your weapons, and those are the only things you can carry with you to battle. Well, what if you can sharpen your weapons and increase your armor defense by gambling, by putting yourself where you have a chance to lose all of your money in a single bet, and how much that would crush you. And then you get over it. I would think you doing that gambling and you can make a ton of money, but also lose a ton of money so fast you almost start to see money as like I could get this any time, or just you see money as like not as important because you can always get it or lose it. And so like that mindset shift, you have to have that mindset change because money's not going to stay with you forever. You might lose it in one battle, win it in another, lose it. You might keep that money. You can't just carry it around with you to another battle. Now people say, yeah, you can put it in a saving account. No, no, no. If you lost everything, you wouldn't be able to keep them with you. And so that's what I see. I'm trying to see money as that, and it is. It's I'm the one, so everything around me can be lost except for me. I can lose all my money, all my clothes, but the only thing I can't lose is the this discipline I've made for myself, the body I've created, my body, which I'll talk about in the later part of the video, my exercise routine, all that, the skills I have, the business skills I have, the speaking skills, the communication skills, this YouTube channel, none of that this YouTube channel can get kicked off of YouTube. And the skills I've learned from talking to a video for hours a day, or hours by the next couple of videos, I've probably been talking for like 10 hours. And so 10 hours of talking to people through this camera on my computer camera or whatever. So all that skill will always stay with me. And so it's not the money that's important. It's the skills you learn that allow you to create money. Because once you have that skill, you can always, make more money. That's why, like, look at all the millionaires, billionaires, whatever, they lose all their money and they can just start up another business and eventually they'll make it all back if as long as they have enough time. And so you have to see life as like an infinite game where you can lose everything and it might take you a couple years to get it back up, but you can get it back up. You can get that money and make even more money. And that applies to everything. And so that's a mindset you must have. But that was the blog post I created. And I really think it's useful for you guys. And that's part of the risk I'm taking going to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm completely living with my parents. I only have a couple $1,000s in the bank account. Now I do have credit cards where I have probably max like 15K that I can spend on those credit cards before they out, just in case. But it's a big risk. I might live out of my car for a couple days. I could get robbed in a new environment or whatever. I could be scammed and lose all my money, all my credentials and everything, and I'm away from home with my phone lost, and I can't really remember my phone numbers, my parents' phone numbers by themselves. So I'm lost contact with my family or whatever, and I'm alone. And so what can I do? Like it's serious. And so it's a risk. It's a big risk I'm taking because I'm probably not going to have a job by that time and I'm going to a new place and I have to find a place to rent. And if I don't find it the first day, I'm probably living out of my car until I find someone. Thankfully, I have my car. If I didn't have my car, I'd be living out on the streets, but I would still take the risk if that was happening because it's a risk you have to take. So in the blog, I talk about that, but you have to take risks that force you to reforge your armor. And that's what the whole thing is about. You go through a battle, you see the weaknesses or the strengths of your armor, and you reinforce those through reforging your armor. And unfortunately, most people don't want to reforge that armor because it's difficult for you, because the armor is your personal view through which you see the world, the lens through you see the world, the philosophy, the personal philosophy you have. And you have to destroy that in the process of remaking it. You have to kill your old self. It's like every battle you have to kill your old self. And you do that enough times, and eventually you become unstoppable. Eventually. And that's the whole point of life. You become like Elon Musk with his business skills. His business skills are so sharp that his weapons are so sharp. The weapons that represent his business skills are incredibly sharp. He's incredibly good at business. Now, his personal life isn't the best, so that's a weakness in his armor, weakness in his social skills, his social weapon. Look at Donald Trump, the man incredibly good with business. Well, you can say he's not good with business, incredibly good. The perception around him, he's good with business. However, he's good with money. However, he's gone bankrupt a couple times. You can say that's a bad mark on him, but he's made himself back up multiple times. He's gone bankrupt, made himself back up, gone bankrupt again, made himself back up. How many people can stand that? How many people can stand knowing they have millions or billions of dollars loans and all the interest that comes with that? Think about all the people who lost their money in the stock market and committed suicide because they have all these loans they can't pay back. Donald Trump had millions and billions of dollars of loans. He could be considered the poorest person ever at times, where even he even talks about that. Even a homeless person is richer than him. Yeah, he has all these connections, everything, but he has all that money, all that debt outpouring on his back, sitting on his back, almost crushing him. But he's able to take that and not worry about it. Why? Because he's been bankrupt so many times. And he's made that weakness in his armor into, he's gotten rid of it. And now it's a strength of his where he's not worried about going bankrupt because he's made it back up before. And he can always do it again. And so that's what that blog post is about, and I'll talk more into it and everything. And part of that blog post was because I was inspired by a person I was listening to. And so that's the life progress. Now, there are a couple things, minor things in life progress. My chest has been getting bigger, my shoulders been getting bigger. I might, if you want to go on my Instagram, that Instagram that I have is probably a weeks, 2 weeks old picture of my physique. I now have a little bit bigger. I'm growing pretty fast. Maybe it's because I haven't really exercised to the fullest extent. So I'm still in my newbie phase, even though it's been 2 years of me going on and off with exercise. And so I put on some muscle, but I haven't reached my full capacity. I haven't maxed out my newbie gains yet, especially on my chest. My chest is still growing. It's barely growing, but it's still growing at a noticeable pace, I've noticed. And so that's my shoulder and everything. I'm getting closer to the V taper because that's my goal is to have like a V taper, a good chest, good shoulders, a six pack or whatever by being lean enough. I am lean enough, so I don't worry about that. I probably want some more muscle definition on my abs, so I have to work on that. But mainly, I'm focusing on chest and my shoulders through push-ups, and I've gotten up to 200. I've been like doing some days where I do up to like 150, and then I've cut down on the other days to 50 to kind of recover. I'm kind of still seeing how that is working out on my chest. My chest is still growing, so I probably could do more progress. But I've decided the goal isn't really how many push-ups I can do, like to get up to the max number of push-ups. It's mainly to grow my muscle or whatever. And maybe I'll worry about performance later. But like right now in my life, I really want to focus on having a good physique, developing a aesthetic physique, which I know most people are like, you shouldn't be going to the gym, but I do think you can use it as a main goal as yours because the other things will come. Your strength will grow. You'll like the gym. You'll like working out, doing calisthenics specifically for me. As the more you do them, as you progress more, and you have to progress more to build muscle. So it's a feedback loop. So even though my reasons for working out aren't the best, they're not just purely because it gives me energy boost and all that. No, it's because aesthetically I look better. I feel better. And so I don't take myself as seriously if I'm fat or I don't have any muscle on me. So that's why it's not the best goal and it's not the best motivation. But as long as it works, like at least I'm still getting in doing my workout routine, my little bit of workout routine. It's not like a really maxed out routine. It's just push-ups. All I'm focusing right now, I might add like a 30-minute yoga session at the end of my night for flexibility. But mainly it's the yoga because that's real, or it's the push-ups. It's really easy. Probably takes me 10 times in total. I can break it up, do 10 push-ups at a time as a set. Just do 10 of them, or do 10 reps and do 10 sets of those for a day, and that's 100 push-ups. If I'm getting the reps and sets and all that right. I don't know for sure. I'm not a workout person. I don't know a lot about working out. And so, or building muscle specifically. So I built up to before I could probably, if I'm well rested, I could probably do 200, 300 push-ups a day. And I could probably do, for one set, if I'm fully rested, probably do 30 push-ups. I haven't tested it, but I can get to 20 and be okay. If I'm fully rested, I haven't done anything for like the next last 8 hours. I can do 20 push-ups, 20 to 30. Pretty, pretty simple. And so that's probably my max per set. However, I just stick to 10 because I can do 10 and not feel like tired at all. It's only when I done like 10 sets of those, so I'm on my 100th push up and I'm doing another 10 that it gets harder. But the first 100 push-ups of the day are pretty easy or whatever. And I have those handbars by my bed or whatever, so it's really easy and I can just do the push-ups using the handbars, which makes it a little bit more difficult, I think, because the angle's a little different while you're doing it. And so, sorry, it's kind of cold in here, and that's making me more tired and everything. And so, my physique has been getting better. I'm starting to care about that. I've noticed that more. I care more about my physique more now that I'm working out, and I'm more confident. Like the effects of it have boosted my self-esteem. And like today, I want to tell you a personal story. So I came into the library today, and there was a lot of people in the library because it's the start of the semester, and a pretty blonde-haired girl, I'd say like 19 or whatever, comes down from the steps because it's a two-story library building, and I'm coming into the library, and the library that I go to, the PSC library, Pensacola State College Library, with the study rooms in it, has the doors to it. It's like two doors before you in the exit. So it's like one door and then another door behind it. And there's a little like square enclosure as you pass through the first door, and then you got to pass through the second door. And I was passing through the second door and I was about to open it, and she is coming out of the library. She's coming out. She's probably like 10 steps away from it. So I just opened the door and let her pass, and I just hold it back and let her pass through it instead of me trying to go through it real quick. And she come out and the door slam in her face as the door closes right behind me. And she was like, "Oh, thank you," whatever. And she was really nice. And I'm not like, I don't know, I just got like a weird vibe from her. Like she was like maybe she thought I was handsome or whatever. And maybe that's just bias or whatever. I know guys have a tendency for a girl who's friendly to them, think it's like sexual or like they're attracted to them, or they're flirting with them, but usually it just means because they're nice. I don't know, but like she smiled at me. Like I used to when I was in high school or whatever, never got smiles. And I think part of that was because wasn't as attractive. I wasn't as confident in myself, but also I wasn't as attractive. I hadn't built my arms up. So I haven't built my arms up. I haven't built my shoulder up and you know, it does make a difference, I think. Like the look smacking guys do are kind of right. Like if you're below a five or whatever or four and because you're really ugly, like people aren't gonna want to talk to you. And unfortunately that's the way humans work. And so it's hard. So, you know, people won't smile at you or whatever. And that's why I say go be a cashier. You'll discover if you're attracted or not. Because if you're attractive, a lot of people will come through your line more than an unattractive person. People will smile at you more, they'll communicate with you more. So she like smiled and like said thanks or whatever. I don't know, maybe she was flirting. I don't know, but I've never gotten like a smile or a like from that. You know, that could be bad or whatever. Some people might say, well, you shouldn't take confidence from other people, or, you know, you should be okay if people don't like you or whatever. But I think it was really nice. I don't really get a smile or a thanks or anything like that at a library whenever I've opened doors for women or guys, even guys that I've opened doors for. I've never gotten a smile or thanks or anything like that. And so that just made my day, especially since it was a beautiful girl. If it was a ugly girl, I wouldn't have been as happy with it because if you don't know this, if you see someone as inferior than you, beauty wise or in other ways, you won't be happy if they compliment you. But if it's someone who's better than you at something or something like that, or you have that perception of it, when they compliment you, you take it more personally and it feels better. That's the way humans work. And because we're a judgmental society, we're all judgers. Like we can say we don't judge people, but secretly we do. And so she was a really beautiful woman or whatever. Like I said, blonde hair, um, probably up to like her shoulder, all the way to her shoulder or whatever. Really nice. And at least to me, or she could have been, you know, attracted by how I looked or the way I opened the door. I don't know. but it was just a nice thing, and I wanted to mention that in a video because these update videos are just also about my normal life. So anything I've seen, people I've talked to, were like, so I wanted to mention that in these videos, and I wanted to mention that in my video, and that's part of the life progress. And so my push-ups have my chest has been getting bigger. I've really been focusing on that as, growing my chest and my physique and everything. And I've noticed my physique, my shoulders have gotten a little bit broader or whatever. And my physique is getting better. And I might do like weekly physique video pictures on my Instagram. I might do that. I don't know. I have 0 Instagram followers. And so it doesn't matter what I post. And so in the books, I've also been reading let's get back to it. I read The Art, or what is it called? The Art of Risking Everything, like On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything. And like I said, it's been making me really interested more in gambling as like a transformational fit part of my life. So like if I lose everything in gambling, yeah, my life would be pretty much really hard or whatever. But if I do it a lot of time, even if I only lose like $100 every time I do it, I kind of start to change my mindset where it's like money doesn't matter. All that matters is me. And if I go broke, I can always, make more money. And I've always had that mindset. Like I'm never afraid to give tips to people who've helped me or whatever, or help people. I haven't really given money to homeless people because I really don't have enough money. But like if I'm spending money on a service, I'll always tip. The restaurant I go to after this video where I'm gonna eat, I always tip them 20% when I pick up my food there because it's online and I don't care. Like, why shouldn't you tip? Like, I'm really like, I can always make more money. That's like whenever people order a lot of money, food and fast food, I always say, like, they could order this at home or whatever. Like, they could make this food at home for like half the price, especially some of the menu items are really simple to make. But I'm like, yeah, they could probably make they could make this for half the price at Walmart or whatever, but maybe they need to spend time or whatever. And you can see that some customers tip really generously and others don't even tip, depending on who it is, even in a fast food restaurant. And I always do it because it's better to be generous. Like it even says that in Robert Greene's Art of Seduction book. Like you don't want to be a person who's really stingy with money. And I completely agree. I can always make more money. That's why whenever I'm investing in stuff, if I really find value in it, I don't mind spending $100 for a course, 200 course. The only reason I'm not investing more money into myself right now is because I'm about to move out and I need enough money in my bank account so I can show the person I'm renting from that, I have some money to pay you if you want me to pay, a couple months in advance, or that I have enough money before I have a job that can pay for rent. And that's the only reason. But I'm not afraid of paying paying someone what they're actually worth. And I think that's you should be more generous. And that book made me want to gamble some more, at least learn how to play poker, specifically poker, because it talks about that book. And the book is that poker, especially poker, it's about reading other people. It's not just a zero sum game or whatever, but you can scheme against your opponents, but if your opponents notice, they'll scheme about from you. So you have to really know more about your opponent's personality. You have to read your opponents. At least that's what most style of play is about. Is you have to read your opponents and then exploit their weaknesses against them. But in the process of doing that, you can be exploited. If they found out you've exploited their weakness, they can change up their weakness and they can change up their play and then, make a ton of money off of you. And so I think that's a very useful skill to learn. And I think you can apply it to other places of your life. And so book is very interesting. And I looked at reviews of it and some people were like, oh, it's really bad or it's really good or whatever. And they were like, a lot of them were like, it's not like his last book, The Signal and the Noise, which is about predictions and Rise AI, and this was like in 2016, and the guy who wrote the book predicted the presidential election or whatever. And so it was a really famous book, and they were like, it's not as good, it's all about gambling or stuff like that. And part of it the book is, but the other last part of the book half of it's about gambling, the first half, and the other half is not, because the author, his way into the river, that's what he calls the people who are like risk takers, was through gambling. But he also talks about the hedge funds managers, the crypto people, all that stuff in the book later on. And he makes the argument about the river people and how they, who are risk takers, the highest, who have mastered the art of risk taking, are more proportionally wealthier. They're the most, that characteristic can cause you to have more wealth than others. Now, it's not the all on beyond. You can be like Warren Buffett, who's not a really a big, no, Warren Buffett is a risk taker, but you can be like someone who's not really risk taking and still be a millionaire, billionaire. But he says they're more proportionally more likely to become wealthy and rich and all that. And he divides it into the river and the village, which are like two natural enemies of each other. He says like the village is basically like the leftists, the government, bureaucratic organizations like academia, because that's what academia is becoming now. It's not all about, it's not more, it's less about truth and it's more about political honesty or political, beliefs and everything. If you notice that in colleges nowadays and academia too, think about the psychology replication crisis. Like that's just a symptom of them becoming more bureaucratic, and as they become more bureaucratic, they become more village-like. And he even says in the book, some people in the reviews were like, because I looked up reviews because I'd only read like part of the book so far, and I think it's really good at parts and everything. And now there are problems with the book, but I still think it's really good. And some people are like, well, yeah, he talks about the village and how they're evil and like the leftists and everything, and like how Elon Musk is good and everything, and how he's a Rivian. That's what he calls the people who are in the community a Rivian or whatever. And I was like, no, it doesn't. I was like, he's not really. The author even says he's biased against the village because he's a Rivian, which because of Rivian and village are natural enemies or whatever. But he even gives a steelman argument, which a steelman argument, I didn't know this, but in the book you give your opponent the best qualities. So what is the best parts of the argument that are right, that could be right? What does he have good points on? And he even gives like a little thing in the book of like 5 pages on why the village people are right, how the political correctness is a little right, and how, but also he talks about how it can be wrong. But that book is also not really about that. If you look in the later parts of the book, I've a little bit skimmed in the back parts of the books. It talks about how the Rivian people, the river, is becoming more powerful in society. Think about the AI, ChatGPT, on that. Those people, all Silicon Valley is a Rivian community. It's part of the river. It's specifically part of the river, and they're becoming more and more powerful. And what are the consequences on society as the river people become more powerful? Because even in the book, he even mentions there's consequences for that, and it's good and bad. Like because if you're a risk taker or whatever, that's okay if you're gambling. But what if you're a leader, or you're very influ, inf, influential? How am I? See, I need to work on my vocab. But what if you're very powerful in society, and so you can influence everyone around you. Your decisions affect everyone around you. The president of the United States. If he does something stupid, the American people are going to suffer. And so the Rivian people, the river people, are becoming more and more powerful. Good for good or bad. But what is that happening to society? What if you turn out to be like Sigmund Freud or whatever his name was? He caused that crypto crisis where like the crypto exchange or whatever, he lost billions of dollars of people who used that exchange, and he went to jail and everything and all that. So like what happens when those people become more and more in power, and they make decision based on risk? And yeah, if it turns out great and everything, that's good, but what if it turns out really bad? And so that's an interesting book. So now let's get to YouTube. Maybe actually this will be an hour video. Who knows? I said it wouldn't be an hour video, but it is. Let's get to the other parts of the video. So YouTube progress, I'm still at 10 subscribers. I haven't really gotten any new comments or whatever. I've released a blog post. I have made the MailChimp account for email lists. So if you want to sign up for that, you can. I'm dedicating probably like an hour or 2 hours a day to just writing for the blog post. And then I'm going to use the blog post as scripts for YouTube. And so that's basically the YouTube progress. There isn't much YouTube progress. For inspiration, I call these musings on my blog or whatever. Inspirations, um, the Bruce Wayne channel, I'm still following that guy. He's got an inspiration. He wants to become like Batman. I'm not really be trying to become like Batman militarily and all that and having his special forces and everything. So it's not that. But so that kind of he's always inspiring to me. However, his video uploads will slow because he's going on a trip or whatever. Another guy who's really inspired me was Brute de Force, I think it's called. You can see his videos. He doesn't really make videos on YouTube. He makes like Twitter stuff, and then people put it on YouTube or whatever. He has like these brute spacers or whatever, and he talks about his like life philosophy and things and everything. That's how I got the armor idea, the armor metaphor in my blog post because he uses as armor because I was watching one of his video. I get a lot of stuff for Andrew Tate, even though I'm not a big fan of Andrew Tate, especially nowadays. He has his goods and bads, but it was talking about him. But let's get back to Brute de Force or Brute de Face, something like that. He really doesn't have a YouTuber channel. The reason I've been watching him a little bit is because so one of the guys I watch is he does like self-improvement programs or whatever based off of anime, and one of them is a famous anime character or whatever, and it's like a white room program or whatever, and it's like $20. I haven't done that yet. It's like a white room program, self-improvement thing or whatever, improve your cognitive, physical, and all that abilities. However, he released a 100-day program to improve mental, physically, everything and all that. And it's a scaled down version of his $20 program or whatever. And so I checked out that, and that's free or whatever. He made it as a Google Docs. And every day you do stuff. So you do like a certain amount of push-ups, pull-ups, or you do a certain amount of crunches, do a run or whatever, or if it's a rest day, you don't or whatever. Or you can do your own program, and then you try to test your cognitive abilities and you try to increase them doing that or whatever. And you do other stuff and you watch certain videos or read a certain book or whatever that the author thinks is inspiring or is good for you. And I was looking through the videos and one of them was from this guy, Brute de Force or whatever. And so I got my metaphor of armor because his video about Andrew Tate and how Andrew Tate, his connection, how Andrew Tate's personality is. So like his opinion of him. And like and the video isn't about Andrew Tate if he's good or bad. It's just how Andrew Tate rose, from a nobody to a person who a ton of people love or whatever, and like what he did to get to that. And he talked about how, Tate forged his armor through a lot of like negative self-talk about how he's a horrible, like he probably has a horrible introvert voice or whatever. He says he's a bitch or whatever, and he has to do this, this, and this to win or whatever. And he even said Andrew Tate probably has a lot of trauma, and through that trauma he turned into like a predator because he is kind of like a predator. You can't establish that. You can say he's a loser, this or this, but he's a predator. He's a king of the jungle, I would say. Andrew Tate, if you hate him or like him, I don't care, but he just has that personality as like a king, and he's developed that. And so he said, how did he develop that or whatever? Like what was his mindset or whatever. And so that's how I got into brute de force because I watched the training program, the guy I watched who gave the 100-day program, he had different videos you should watch him videos every day. And one of them was a Brute Space, which is about an hour long conversation of brute force, whatever, talking about something. And so I looked this guy up on YouTube, and that's where I got the Andrew Tate thing, where he was like, "Yeah, he's a predator or whatever, predator of the jungle or whatever," and he talked about how he had his own armor or whatever, and that armor, and so that's where I got the inspiration for armor from. I added weapons to it, and I kind of changed it around with my personality, but I really got a lot of inspiration from him, which is why I made the video on Monday or the blog post on Monday. Those were like the two main inspirations. I've been reading the books of The Art of Risking Everything. That got me a little bit of inspiration for like gambling or whatever. And just, I was curious more about gambling. And of course, I also read a little bit of this book, The Evolution of Desire. I knew a lot about this stuff it would be or whatever. I really wanted to know the more useful information in it. I just really skimmed through it, read it really quickly. I read parts of it really quickly. I just jumped to wherever I wanted to be, and that really was really an interesting. It's a really interesting book. I haven't really gone back. I haven't read my sleep book that I got. I've already read the full book for the $1 Million Weekend, and I already didn't really recommend it unless you're like a newbie and you're afraid to start a business. And I wouldn't really call it a business. I understand like eventually he wants you to scale your business up. But in the beginning, it talks about how like you want to take a side hustle or whatever and use all your personal time or your personal time to like build a business and validate your business idea. But I don't really see it as that because you don't really have any leverage if you start a business that way because then you'll become complacent and then you'll just have a second job or you just have a job and you're okay with it because it pays your bills or whatever. And yeah, you maybe not have a boss and singular boss, but now customers are your boss. And so I didn't really agree with parts of it. This book, I really agree with a lot of it. It does say, and it shows. And so I really recommend that book. But those were like, that's basically been the inspiration. I really haven't gotten a lot more inspiration. I haven't been using YouTube as much because I've been from, you know, studying social media or studying financial account, doing the blog posts, and then I have been slacking off a little bit with um the rest of the stuff I should be doing because unfortunately I haven't been tracking my time as much and I haven't been as productive. I'm trying to get back on productive, being more productive, getting back to doing 20 accomplishments per day because I have, if I track my time, I have like 8 hours of productivity compared to like 4. And it's easy on the days where I have work because I'm in a rush. I only have 5 hours to do stuff, and so I get it done really quickly. But on the days that don't have work, it's hard because I'm like, why can't I just sleep on my bed, rest or whatever, like play around? Like I don't have a set schedule. That work doesn't, I don't have that work to like stabilize me. So it's a lot harder. But that's pretty much everything. I've talked about everything I need to do. So probably Thursday I'll make the video. I'm probably gonna make it on the blog post I made, or it could be on the credit card thing I am. I gotta make another blog post that I'm gonna probably release in the next 2 days. Why? Because I wanna start making more blog posts because if I make more blog posts, I'll make more YouTube videos and I want to make more content and I'll have more things to talk about. It's easier to, you know, create an hour video if I have a blog post that I can talk about that has everything structured for me. And I think the video content is better. The video is better if I have a little bit of an outline, not a big outline, but just a little bit of an outline to talk about everything. So that's pretty much everything for the video. It's been 53 minutes. I know, I didn't think it would be that long. I do have a question for you. Do you think the beard's any good? Should I shave the beard? Should I keep it? I think I should shave the beard, save the beard. I don't know if I should keep it this long. I really think the beard looks good on me. I think beards look good on most men, unless you have a really sharp jawline, then it's not necessary. If you have a really bad jawline, like a lot of my coworkers at work, I would recommend for a guy to get a beard, but the problem with that is you gotta wear a beard mask or whatever. Most most of the older guys don't want to do that. And for the younger guys, they can't grow a beard. They're like me in high school. And so that's pretty much it. I just wanted to ask that question. I can't really get feedback from like people I know or whatever. I want like objective feedback, and I don't want you can hurt my feelings if you say the Weaver beer is bad or whatever. I got to get a haircut too. I've been waiting on the haircut, one to save money, but also number two, um, it's just because I want to get a haircut close enough to my move date so I don't have to get a haircut right when I move to Charlotte. So we will see. My speech therapy is pretty bad, or my speech. I keep messing up words is bad today. So that's everything for the video. This is goodbye. Like, have a good day. Have a fantastic week. Or till Thursday. Have a fantastic week till Thursday, and then I'll give you another fantastic week. Seriously, have a fantastic day. I hope you're reaching for your goals. The main thing I just want to say is just don't be a zombie in life. Continue to grow. Even if it's in the same skills, just continue to grow the same skills or learn new skills, whatever it is. Learn from life. That's the main thing. That's, I guess, the main action step for my blog post is don't be a zombie. Don't be an undead living in the world, waiting to die. Grow as a person. The good thing is an infinite game. You can always revert back to yourself. If you're gonna die, you're done. You're done. You're done with life, at least on this side of the earth, at least on Earth. Maybe your progress resets to zero and you're reincarnated, but you're dead. If you quit, you stop growing. Well, you can grow. You can get back in the game. You can be 80 years old and get back in the game. It'll take you longer. You'll probably regret the time you wasted, but you can do it. I believe in you. Like that's all that I ask of you. So that's goodbye. And now I need to make up a better exit intro. Exit, not intro, exit intro. I don't know what the term is. End of the video. So that's goodbye. I've been playing with this pen a lot. Just talk. Oh, this is goodbye. It's on the floor. Let me get that. So goodbye.